What is the wildest thing you have seen at a bachelorette or bachelor party? Before we get started, make sure you're subscribed to the channel and turn on the bell so you don't miss future videos. Thanks for the support. Bride and groom having their parties same night, different parts of town. At some point, we lose the groom. Not sure where he is. Get called by the maid of honor about 90 minutes later. She walked in on them going at it in the bride's limo. Next story. Escort found out the incredibly shy, introverted 28-year-old guy who was blushing so red we thought he was going to pass out was a virgin. She kept flirting. She kept getting very flirty. She kept giving him lap dances. He just sat there and grinning and not making eye contact. She left with him. Everyone assumed he was getting laid. He took her to Denny's for 1 a.m. breakfast. They walked in the park. She went back to his place. He gave her the bed, and he slept on the sofa. He drove her 90 minutes home the next day, hung out with her and her roommate, and the escort and her roommate set him up with the roommate's non-stripper sister. He married the sister. The best part, when he married the sister, we had a bachelor party. The escort sister sent 4 girls from the club she danced at, along with a security guard who looked like he killed people for fun. The groom-to-be didn't show up. He took all the bridesmaids to a fancy dinner before they went out for the night. Next story. Met my buddy the groom at a local bar. Everyone was buying him drinks. We agreed to meet at a strip bar about 20 minutes away. We get there, no groom. Wait 1/2 hour, still nothing. We all leave. See the groom at work the following Monday. Face and hands all torn up. Ask what happened. His future brother-in-law was driving him to the club. On the way, he got the pukes. Bill pulls over on the side of the interstate, and my buddy gets out to puke over the guardrail. However, he falls over the guardrail, rolls down a hill into picker bushes. Luckily, the Bill is a big dude. Goes down the hill, drags him back up, and puts him in the car. Takes him back home and drops him in his bed. I would have liked to see the look on his face when he woke from his alcohol-induced event and looked in the mirror. Priceless. Next story. My limo driver hit a bunch of cars in the parking lot of the strip club and left the scene of the accident. All the girls were yelling at him, and he still didn't stop. I don't remember now how it all ended. I should ask one of the girls. Next story. Not me, but my dad. And he wasn't there. He was dating the groom's sister. The bachelor party was the night before the wedding in Cincinnati. The groom got hammered, and his buddies thought it would be hilarious to put him on a Greyhound bus. He woke up on a bus in Cleveland the morning of the wedding. The wedding still happened, apparently, several weeks later, and with none of the groom's friends in attendance. Next story. Groom and best man disappeared. I assumed they snuck off to smoke, so I went outside to look for them. I walked up to the best man's car, and there they are, sitting in the back seat, do HJ other off. I just turned around and went back inside the bar. We have never discussed what I witnessed, and I'm okay with that. Next story. Married dudes having full-on sex with the escorts. It really changed the way I viewed the guys there who talked about the importance of family. Next story. Groom's brother had a little Hunter S. Thompson starter kit, and around 4 a.m. decided to bust out nose beers, and next thing we knew, he was studying the gutter on our hotel balcony, 2nd floor, and then he Spider-Maned onto it, slipped and fell into the shrubs below, and we were like, oh man, this is bad. He scaled the gutter back up to the balcony and was good to go. Next story. The Uber driver came with us to a strip club in Nashville. We bought him drinks and dances. He was a cool dude named Muhammad from Somalia. It was a weird visual. A bunch of dumb, loud, stereotype, high-fiving white guys, and their new friend Mo from Somalia, just chanting, "Let's go, Mo!" Mo was the damn man. We lost him at some point. I hope he's doing well. Next story. The groom broke down and ugly cried, and admitted he didn't want to get married. He was a mess. It was not cold feet. He wanted to be single. He still married her, and they are together, and several children later. He is still secretly miserable and wants to stay married until the kids are in college. It's gross. Next story. The bride got too drunk at dinner, cried in the parking lot, had to pull over multiple times for the bride to throw up on the way back to the Airbnb. One of the times, the bride couldn't wait and puked out the window before we could pull over. The maid of honor had her head out the window in the back seat, filming the bride as she's puking out the window. The maid of honor got a mouthful of the bride's puke in her mouth as she had her mouth open, laughing as she's filming the bride puking from the front seat passenger window. Maid of honor starts puking out the back seat passenger window. So much vomit. It wasn't even 8 p.m. Next story. My buddy brought his 82-year-old grandpa to his bachelor party because he was feeling lonely. We all thought we'd have to babysit him. By 2 a.m., we were at a dive bar, and Grandpa had won $400 playing pool against some local sharks, convinced the bartender to give us a veteran discount on the entire tab, and was teaching the groom how to properly negotiate a mortgage while doing shots of Midori. By the way, he was the only one who didn't have a hangover the next morning. Next story. Was out with the groom, and he ran into an old flame. Disappeared towards the end of the night, and nobody said anything. He didn't reappear till middle of the next day, his fiancée screaming at the groomsman, "Where is he?" He had sex with the other women and slept in. They've been together 10 years, 2 kids. I don't think she knows. Next story. Went to a dank bachelor party for a guy that I didn't know that well, but everyone knew that he seemed to hate his fiancée. Someone got him a Craigslist escort. She comes over to the groom's house, does her dancing thing. He ends up banging her. As the night concludes, he panics because he can't find the condom. It was determined that the dog ate it and confirmed when the dog crapped it out. Next story. Buddy's bachelor party in the early 2000s. We hear bar/club hopping, and after the third strip club, we thought it was a good idea to give the leftover bottle of Crown to the limo driver since he stopped at the liquor store for us. Left the next strip club to come out to the limo driver stuck in the lot and drunk. We had to help him clear the corner and had him call another driver. Not a smart idea to give the designated driver a bottle of liquor. Next story. Very Christian lady. Huge bachelorette party. 300 women, and one, hired by her sister-in-law, male dancers with a boombox and a very bad case of acne. The lap dance he did on her was nightmare material. She did not enjoy the experience, but it did make memories. Next story. Got the groom drunk on Jägermeister. Bride crashed party while he was humping chick on dance floor. Next day, groom couldn't even button his shirt. He was still drunk, hungover. He passed out on honeymoon night. She hates me, but they have been married 40 years. Next story. My friend was the bachelor. Our group was probably 8 to 10 people. He was in a chair on stage at a strip club. The strippers did their lap dances. Then one unbuttoned his pants. One started tugging on the front of his boxers, trying to rip them off like an atomic wedgie. I could see he went from laughing and having fun to being irritated really quick. She was yanking, it was hurting, and he was getting mad. He pushed away from her, his pants fell, and he dropped his boxers. Just went full Winnie the Pooh. His junk was out, his shirt was up, and his pants were down. We, the party, were all laughing and taunting, hilarity for about 1.5 seconds. Literal record scratch as the music stopped and all lights come on. Bouncers hit the stage, snatched him up, and started pushing him toward the exit. He's talking smack the whole time, just furiously talking crap to every single person near him while he's pulling up his pants. By the way, he's like 5 feet 6 inches and 150 pounds soaking wet. Bouncers threw him, literally, into lobby area. He heads toward the door. He was so pissed it was hilarious still. They surprisingly don't jump him or kick his ass. I was expecting it, but maybe because I'm a pretty big dude, played college football O-line, and we had a big group, they didn't do the bouncer beatdown. He continues laying into them, sees the door, lays into them even more, goes through the door and slams it. What an exit! One problem. It wasn't an exit. He has to come back through the lobby, then out the front door. More griping, more verbal mayhem. Bouncers tell us to piss off and leave the property. We go to the end of the parking lot and call the van driver that brought us. As we're waiting, 2 cars pull up near us. Apparently there was a road rage issue, and all 4 peeps in each car were going to settle it in the parking lot of the strip club. They all fight. We're watching and staying away. The fight is over. The other car takes off. We call 911 for ambulance. Dispatcher says cops are en route for a fight that started in the club, apparently us, then continued in the parking lot. Our van arrives, we pile in, leave, and carry on the rest of the night. Next story. Just went to my first bachelor party a couple weeks ago in Las Vegas. The bride also had her bachelorette party there at the same time. All us guys got a nice Airbnb. Within 20 minutes of arriving, Guy 1 pushed Guy 2 into the pool after Guy 2 said, "Don't push me in the pool, please." I have my work phone and personal phone in my pocket. Guy 2 goes full nuclear on Guy 1. And as a couple of us are watching this Hiroshima-level fallout, fight on the brink of happening, the groom's little brother comes outside and informs us another guy fainted inside and cracked his head on the side of the table. Between my two buddies about to fist fight each other, none of us are fighters or drama people by any means, and the groom's college best friend we all just met seriously hurting himself, we all were very nervous as to how the weekend was going to play out. The two guys make up after some air and chatting, the fainting fella comes around and paramedics clear him. We all end up hitting the casinos. Most of us won money. We linked up with the Bachelorette party a couple times throughout the weekend at the casinos and clubs, and overall had a really fun weekend. Nobody cheated on their partners. We all made friends and had a good time with the people we already knew, and it was very wholesome for being in the Sin City. Not every batch party ends in the groom or bride cheating 2 days before the wedding. Here's some hope for y'all. Next story. Back in the 80s, we got the groom drunk at a strip club, and he had to be helped into the house. He fell asleep, and we put him in a full leg cast. I remember him howling in the morning. Next story. I was working at a strip club, and my boss asked me to stay late for an extra 100. The owner's friend was having a bachelorette party, ended up sticking around for 3 more hours and earning almost 600 in tips. Got to see some serious smoke shows trying their hand on the poles and stages, with varying degrees of success and skill. Night ended with the bride-to-be getting railed by my boss, 3 of her friends, and the dishwasher. I just pocketed the money and went home, and figured it was not my problem. In those days, I was drinking a lot and didn't care about a lot of things. Next story. The bride had several platonic guy friends from work, so for a twist, they dressed in drag and came to the bachelorette party, which was at a friend's house. The girls knew in advance. The bride was surprised but liked it. The guys were great sports and even danced around with the fake cop, male stripper who showed up to the party, who the bride did not like at all. Next story. We ordered the groom to be kidnapped so he could get to the actual party. First, we went to the sauna, and then a car pulled up on the street. 2 well-dressed thugs got out, threw the groom in the trunk, and drove off. But when we looked, the police stopped the car with the groom 2 streets away. With guns drawn, they put the guys on the road, and before we could get there and explain, they had already handcuffed them and started rescuing the groom, who thought it was just another part of the show and was mocking the poor quality of the police. Next story. We made the groom walk around the French Quarter with an inflatable sheep that had a shot glass stuck inside. Every bar we went to, he had to do a sheep shot first thing. Then we'd pass that poor ewe around and let anybody who wanted to do a sheep shot, and peeps would line up a dozen deep, chanting, "Sheep shot, sheep shot." Next story. The very religious bride's mother, who also happens to be the pastor's wife, awkwardly attended, crashed the bachelorette party weekend with her friends. So there we are with her mom, 4 of her mom's friends, the bride, and all the bride's friends. When the bride's mom finds out that her daughter hasn't been a virgin like she thought up until then, awkward. Next story. Everybody was chilling and having a good time. Then somebody announced that the strippers had arrived. They started doing their thing, and at one point, one of them asked if there was a ping pong ball lying around. There was. So she proceeded to put the ball on the ground and did the squat on top of it. She was able to latch the ball onto her, parts, and after she did that, got into a crab walk position. She then asked the room who the bachelor was, and after we pointed him out, this woman somehow was able to shoot the ball right into the bachelor's chest, albeit he was only like 5 feet away when this happened, but impressive nonetheless. To this day, I'm still in shock, and every time I remember that moment. Next story. I was not there, as I am a woman, but the time when my husband came home from the stag of a coworker comes to mind. He returned home for something and was out on our porch, pulling the sailboat mast down from the rafters. I asked, "What the heck?" And he slurred that they needed a pole for the strippers. He did not return to the stag because I took his keys and said I would drive him, but not the pole. The stag was at a farm nearby, in a huge barn. We were later informed that many of the attendees partook of the entertainment, so apparently, a pole was not necessary. Next story. Not really that wild depending on what you consider wild, but 3 of the guys that were married and engaged decided to bring girls home and have sex with them. I had some pretty harsh words in the morning for them, and now we're not friends because I can only believe they won't trust me to keep a secret that, or the damn bro code. Sorry guys, you're trash. Glad I'm not friends with that group anymore. Next story. A guy got so drunk that he locked himself in a bathroom and couldn't figure out how to open it. Also at that same bachelor party, some guy brought this girl over in the middle of the afternoon and she left her dogs in the living room while they went to the bedroom. Later that night, after we all go out again and come back to our rental house again, I see the guy with what I thought was the same girl and asked, "Where are her dogs?" And she goes, "What dogs?" Oops. Next story. The bachelor party started with all the groomsmen going skydiving, then limo ride to the bar crawl. After the skydiving and before bar crawl, they all started shooting patron like water. I wimped out of the skydiving this time, so I was sober when joining them, and they were. Before the first bar. After first bar, one of the guys got sick and puked inside the limo in the parking lot. The driver was livid, yelling at the guy about cleaning fees, etc. I'm talking to the driver trying to de-escalate things a bit. Suddenly I hear driver say, "What the heck?" Dude was blatantly pissing on the man's limo. Not near it or on the tire, like he was writing his name on the white paint. Driver told us to load and we're done. Turns out the groom barely knew those guys, husbands of bridesmaids. It was a very quiet 45-minute ride back to the groom's house. I thought, wow, that was a hell of a night. Wait until the girls hear this story. Welp, we get to the groom's house and the girls got back before we did for some reason. That reason was because the bride punched a bridesmaid in the face. Next story. Groom hired a videographer and extra services strippers. He kept the videotape, which showed him getting serviced by both of the strippers. The bride saw the videotape and divorced him within a week of the wedding. Next story. Bride got naked with a go-go dancer from the gay club we were all partying at. Realized she didn't want to marry her fiancé and broke up with him the next day. We still had 2 more days of the Bachelorette weekend. Next story. A friend's party. Stripper put a peeled banana inside. The Bachelor had the good sense to stay away from that crap. Different party. Strippers raffling off BJ. That took place in the bathroom of the rented party hall during the party. The Bachelor stayed away. Party number 3. Groom? Average-looking late 20s guy. Best man? Very fit 24U brother of the groom. The strippers all paid way more attention to him than the groom. Next story. Family involvement gone nuclear. At one bachelor party, 2 dancers started putting on a live show. The groom's dad, who was very much married, jumped right in and do HJ on one of the girls in front of everyone. It got back to the groom's mom, and the wedding was apparently one of the most uncomfortable events in family history. Next story. Bachelor party with a stripper that was really an escort flown in from out of state. She stripped, then busted out a cup of ice cubes and shot them across the makeshift stage. Next was a toy attached to headgear, and she worked her way around the stage for tips. She'd do BJ the groom on stage in front of everyone, then disappeared into a bathroom with him. I was gambling about an hour later when the groom came to all the tables to get the house's take. He was trying to scrape up enough cash for sex. Wildest night ever. Next story. We were in the middle of nowhere, Pennsylvania. We went to a Shane Gillis show and had a bunch of drinks. Then went to this strip club, literally in the middle of the woods, called like the Palace or something. We walk in with a case of Miller. Groom was super Catholic and wasn't really having fun, but one of the guys had met a stripper named Tuesday and was getting lap dances. We go to leave and Uber estimates our pickup time to be over an hour and a half, so naturally we go back inside. Well, at this point, everyone's wasted, and when the Uber finally shows up, we all hop in and roll out. We get all the way back to the Airbnb, like a 30-minute drive, and realize we are missing a guy because he was back getting another lap dance from Tuesday when the Uber showed. He made it back like 1 to 2 hours later in rough shape, and let us all know Tuesday had her tattoo with a star around it. Next story. Didn't see but heard about from my husband. His parents' best friend's only daughter was getting married. Very small town. So as a younger teen, he was at the bachelor party the night before the wedding, already a dumb idea. Groom got so drunk he ended up with a black eye, and then they hung him upside down in a tree where he passed out. Don't remember all the details, but needless to say, the bride was not very happy. Next story. Another one. Planned Vegas wedding. Girls and guys head out for separate parties the night before the wedding. Everyone has fun. We happen to run into some of the girls in the lobby of the Rio. The bride and groom get into a huge battle. She screams, "I wouldn't marry you if you were the last man on earth," and storms away. They did get married. It was a brutal divorce. Next story. My ex, we were pretty casual but exclusive, went to a bachelor party in Vegas as a groomsman and was acting super cagey when he got back. I asked him what happened. It took a lot of prying, but the groom slept with a worker. It didn't take long for the bride to text all the women/partners, asking if we knew if anything happened because groom was acting weird. Someone else told her what happened privately. By the way, they're still married. Next story, my bachelor party. 11 of us in Cancun for a week. One of my friends grabbed a trans woman's stuff in the street and had no recollection of it. Another friend was invited and accepted sleeping with this guy's wife. Halfway through, the husband tried to give my friend BJ when he stormed out. Another friend went out to score drugs and disappeared for 2 days. Turns out it didn't take him long to find said drugs. He was just high for 2 days straight sleeping in his rental. Good times. Next story, Bachelorette walking around with a beer, slamming beers and challenging any dude willing. Her homegirls were the beer maids, and they were not messing around. Between them, they had 100 beers in a cooler and backpacks. It was wild. Next story, I was at a bar and a gaggle of bachelorettes came in, pretty drunk. You could tell who the bride was because of her crown and white little dress. She started dancing with a random guy. Her friends left her, and then she kissed the guy. She then left the bar with him. Next story, stag do in Thailand. Groom knew the owner of a strip club. We all went, and the owner had some of the guys go up on stage with the strippers. One of them had a very enjoyable time and was pleasure himself in front of us and the rest of the customers. Didn't faze him, and we still laugh about it 10 years later. Next story, went to my dad's bachelor party. Not only did I have to witness my father and grandfather receive lap dances, but they both witnessed me receiving one as well. Next story, 1. Saw a stripper get tossed into the air and hit a wall on a barge. Yes, a large, flat-bottomed boat in Chicago because she was beat a man whose face she was grinding on, and he'd had enough. She was okay in the end, but not pleased. Guy was also pissed because I was trying to tap out, but she just kept going at it. 2. After a long day eating and drinking in New York, I found myself watching a competition where ping pong balls were shot from ladies' stuff at a bachelor party. Soon thereafter, people started taking the ladies back into rooms, so I left to get some fresh air and get away from that nastiness. Leaving the apartment, I went to the elevator, waited for it to arrive, and when getting on, I say to myself, Patrick Ewing is in the elevator. What the heck is going on right now? Next story, the drunkest of the bridesmaids wandered off from the group, so I went to go get her. Walked up on her holding an empty baggie in a cop's face and asking him if he knew where to get any more substances. I yanked her back so fast and start dragging her back to the group. I find them yelling at one of the other bridesmaids, who apparently had decided to lay down next to a sleeping homeless dude and passed out. Next story, heard an Uber story, bachelor party in Vegas. Drunk groom orders Uber home. Wakes up in his driveway, showers, takes next flight back to Vegas. Was only late for brunch. Next story, pretty standard stag do. Everybody gets drunk and the groom is hammered. Groomsmen get the bright idea to tie the passed-out groom naked to a lamppost and leave him there. They go back to retrieve him, and he isn't there. He's in the hospital because while he was tied to the lamppost, a homeless man came and abused him. He ended up with psychological damage and an STD. Hopefully it's just an urban myth. Next story, went to a strip club. Groom left with a stripper. They came back, and as she wiped her mouth, she told us, "Your friend has a pretty junk." The bride's brother gave high-five him after hearing that. Next story. Just a few days before my buddy's wedding, his brother chartered a bus for a group of friends and extended family, all rednecks, drove to Montreal, 10-hour trip one way, to go to a hockey game and strip joint. At some point near the end of the evening, one of the drunken rednecks got into a fight, and within seconds it became an all-out group brawl, with virtually the entire bachelor entourage scrapping with the locals. Police arrived, broke it up, and issued numerous fines. No one seriously injured or jailed. But here's the kicker. Virtually every single male attendee of the wedding had some type of noticeable facial injury, including numerous black eyes, obvious broken noses, swollen lips, multiple cuts, abrasions, and some broken/missing teeth. To this day, it is difficult to find a picture of anyone attending the wedding without an obvious sign of having been involved in a bar fight, including the groom. Next story. This happened 15 years ago. I gave my friend the number of a woman I know who ran the bar at a club. She said she'd get a couple dancers for the bachelor party he was throwing for his college roommate. I wasn't able to make the party, was with my grandpa in hospice. I run into my friend's mom a couple weeks later. She says, "You should be ashamed of yourself. Rob told me what happened at that party. The woman I know brought another girl with her. Dancing turned into drinking, and going to do BJ guys in their seats. When they were finished, they lay down on the floor and commenced to get the taste of all of those guys out of their mouths by enjoying each other. The girl she brought with her, her twin. I never mentioned it to her or commented. We were talking recently, and she tells me that she used to do some crazy because she was blackout drunk much of the time. She's been sober a good 10 years now. Next story, strip club after a baseball game. They had head-to-head competition on stage for the two bachelors. It had dance-off, whipped cream eating contest, toes to chin off a girl, then it was the push-up contest. My buddy crushes all three against someone way drunker than him. Next story. This one's not wild in the outrageous sense, just daft. I once went to a stag do where the groom was forced to drink a pint of mixed white spirits. Vodka, tequila, rum, cachaça, and gin. This was as soon as he arrived. He did as instructed and was absolutely wasted within half an hour. And that was it for his stag do. In and out of consciousness, vomiting, taken home. Next story. Went to one where the groom literally tried to book a stripper and his best man had to physically stop him, which honestly felt like watching someone almost torpedo their own wedding in real time. The wildest part wasn't even what happened. It was how quickly everyone realized they'd rather just get drunk and play cornhole instead. Like maybe the whole premise of these parties is just outdated theater we do because we always have. Next story. Bridal party went to make strip club. Guys had paid for the strippers to serve the mill a foot-long hot dog. She ended up pulling on it and wondering why it wouldn't come off the stripper's serving tray. And that was just the beginning of the evening. Next story. One time, we had a guy come through our work site naked and drunk. Tried directing traffic. Mind you, it was pouring in mid-afternoon. We later learned that he came from a bachelor party. Next story. Group I know went on a stag and brought a load of escort back to Airbnb. One member of party was taking pics and vids. These went straight up on the cloud, and his wife was getting a live feed at home on the laptop. Ended a few marriages, and the planned wedding was called off. Next story. Double BJ, where the escort then paraded around the filled condom through the villa, showing off his massive semen. I don't know, prob not wildest, but that one just came to mind as a funny moment. Next story. My wife and I met bike racing. Loved mountain biking. Got married in a state park. The bachelor party was camping and getting a bunch of my friends mountain biking. Two of them crashed out hard. One had a beat-up face, the other a bandaged-up arm. My entire family looked at me like we'd had a wild night. My now wife looked at me and cursed me for bringing the roadies off-road. Next story. At a drag show and ran into one of my students. He was a dancer in gold lame shorts. It got awkward when the Mo started hitting on him. She considers herself a cougar. Next story. The strippers brought a studded paddle. They bragged about a guy who took his beating well and became a local stripper legend of sorts. They asked who was bad. All the guys wanted in on it, but I refused. They weren't exactly doing love taps, and it was very much not my thing. A guy at the party basically said, "Hold my beer," and was determined to outdo the legend. I had never met the guy before, but he was wasted, and I caught a glimpse of his blood before doing a 180 and sat outside until I got a ride out of there. I'm guessing that the dude wouldn't have been able to sit for months. Next story. Wife of the best man on my best friend's Bachelorette took a dude into a photo booth and attempted to do BJ him. I'm usually not a cockblock, but I legit screamed, "Absolutely not! You're not doing this tonight!" Still hate her, for a variety of reasons related to her being horrible. Next story. My friend had sex with a random dude she picked up on my living room floor. I wish I could remember more details, but I was pretty drunk. I remember I watched, but didn't participate. Next story. Nothing fancy. Had two of the attendees and hitting on every woman they met. One of them suddenly ran off crying at 2 a.m. about how much of a horrible boyfriend he was. He then started showing pictures of his beautiful girlfriend to his buddy. After about 3 to 4 of the pictures, he had reached the nudes and kept showing. At 4 a.m., he ran off and apparently woke up on her couch the next day. 1 week later, during the wedding, the groom, bless his heart because the brain isn't there, joked to the guy's girlfriend, "I heard he has nudes of you on his phone," her face immediately turning red, and the groom going, "Oh crap. I thought that was a stupid joke." Suffice to say, the boyfriend and the other guy who kept hitting on every woman ended up being single shortly after the wedding. Next story was at a bachelor party with a stripper, and it was her first ever time doing it. Started yelling at the guys for no reason, and then grabbed her crap and left about 20 minutes in. She screamed as she left that her boyfriend would be back to stab someone. We took turns watching the door after while the others partied. Next story. The bride made out with two different people that weekend, one of the people being the maid of honor, being the short story to a very crazy weekend. There still was a wedding. There also was eventually a divorce. Next story. Bride and groom had their parties at the same venue. What made this interesting was the sliding wall was in place between the two groups for the first part of the evening. There were male strippers on one side for the lady group and female strippers on the male side. As the evening progressed, the wall was removed so both groups could mingle. A hyped-up party ensued. Next story. The groom took his groom party to play paintball. No big deal. Pretty tame. Until the groom got hit in the nuts with a paintball at close range by one of his buddies. This revealed a previously unknown health condition, so the groom did his whole wedding the next day with a terrible case of testicular torsion. What's the worst thing you have witnessed at a bachelor or bachelorette? Next story. Went with the boys to a strip club down in Mexico. We were watching two girls rub whipped cream all over each other when we heard a scream. We all looked up, and one of the girls came running out of the bathroom yelling in Spanish. One of the girls had just passed away of an overdose in the bathroom. Several men went upstairs, picked up the girl's limp body, and carried it downstairs and out the front door. All the girls were shaken and crying. Then the boss called them all into the back room, while we all sat around gaping at each other. 5 minutes later, the girls came out with fresh makeup and smiles on their faces, acting like nothing had happened. We all got so creeped out we just went home. Next story. I was at a bachelor party at a house where they brought a couple of escorts over. They were dancing and doing some party tricks in the living room, including shooting ping pong balls into a bucket. The bucket kept getting moved farther and farther back, so the girls had to push harder and harder to launch the balls. At the end, one of the girls was trying to set a new personal record and ended up blowing explosive diarrhea all over the carpet. Instead of properly cleaning it up, my buddy just threw some old towels over it and we kept on partying. His fiancée was pissed because they ended up spending a fair chunk of their wedding gift money on new carpet for the first floor, if their house, since the stain never came out of the Berber carpet. Next story. The night of my bachelorette party, which was very tame and pretty lame, a few of us decided to go out to the bars. We witnessed another party where there was a group of about 20 or so girls who were hammered. The bride seemed more messed up than the rest of them. She proceeded to call over the waitress and they started flirting. Like, a lot. They went into the back office and started moaning super loud. I could only guess what was going on. My friends and I watched in horror. Then she announced to everyone at the bar that she couldn't get married because she realized she was a lesbian. My night turned out to be pretty entertaining, but once in a while I think back to that girl and wonder if she went through with it or not. Next story. Groom was getting married at 1:30 p.m. the day after his bachelor party. As expected, the groomsmen took him out for some heavy drinking. He woke up the next morning in a hotel room to a 10 a.m. wake-up call, with a sincere wish that he enjoyed his stay at the Kansas City Holiday Inn, faked by a friend. The best man had prepared ahead of time by picking up phone books, stationery, those local events and attractions flyers and magazines, notepads, and other items from a hotel in Kansas City, and substituted those materials for the ones for the Chicago hotel that they dumped him at. Of course, he checked the desk, found the Kansas City phone book, and panic ensued. Next story. I was at a strip club where they had one stage that everyone could sit around. They had one show at a time, and each one was themed and pretty awesome. There was a Batgirl that rode a little Power Wheel Batmobile on the stage. There was a classic Victorian girl. Bunch of cool performances like that. One girl came out and was doing a fire show. She poured a ring of fire around the stage, was twirling fire batons. Then she pours alcohol in her mouth and goes for the breath of fire. But when she blows it all out, some of it splatters on her face and her face catches on fire. Bouncers start rushing the stage. A bunch of us jump up out of our chairs to help. The dancer is slapping her face and manages to pat out the fire, then throws up her hands in air to say she's okay. Everyone hesitantly sat back down, and she finished her show, while the smell of burnt hair permeated the place. We all put pity money up on the stage for her, but when she was finished, she just grabbed she stuff and left. I think she was okay. Definitely missing some eyebrows and bangs though. Next story. Drunken backwards somersault off the third floor balcony, landing in the concrete basement landing, C6 and T2 fracture, leading to becoming a 20s paraplegic. Next story. Buddy's bachelor party. His brother is present. Entertainer is putting on a show, inserts a test tube with a shot of tequila into her dirt star, then pulls it out. apparently so someone can take the shot. Bachelor's brother steps up, takes test tube, sucks the outside clean, then does the shot. Plenty of what the heck faces all around. Next story. A stripper pegging one of my friends. I probably could have gone my lifetime without seeing that, but what are you going to do? Next story. I wasn't there to witness it, but my husband not only had to pay for himself at his own bachelor party, but had to spot for at least 2 of his groomsmen, including the best man. They went to their normal bar and then bowling. Next story. Rented a cabin in the woods and had like 30 dudes there for my buddy's bachelor party. After about 36 hours of drinking and drug use, we got some escorts up there. Basically strippers that are more frisky. We are all hammered, and the 2 girls give my buddy who is getting married the best dance I've ever seen. After about 10 minutes of dancing, they suddenly take his pants down, and he was as soft as Play-Doh in front of everyone, was just too wasted to respond. The collective groan from everyone at that moment is something I can still hear today. Next story, I watched a bachelor party at a strip club. The bachelor was totally wasted. Strippers got him on stage, put him in a chair, handcuffed him to the pole, and then drew all over his face and chest with Sharpies. Can't imagine what the wedding was like the next day. Next story, Bachelorette party, happening at a sports club that was playing football on TV at the time. They had a stripper come in and oiled himself up, had squirty cream, bride eating a banana from his underwear, etc. Usual bachelorette stuff. Except the whole time in the middle of it was this old man sat on a bar stool watching the football. He was there before they turned up and was too stubborn to move. So he's there with his pint about a foot away from this oiled up male stripper, eyes glued to the screen, refusing to move. Next story, Bachelorette party, bride-to-be in a 4-person, had sex with 3 other dudes in a shady nightclub bathroom, got married 3 days later. Source was the groom. Next story, we were in a bachelorette party bar crawl in Austin, wound up spending most of the night partying alongside a bachelor party, got way too high that night and passed out early. Woke up to find one of my friends passed out naked in the sofa bed with the groom. Our hotel room phone was ringing. It was the rest of the bachelor party, who had been trying to locate him for hours. If there's a Jonathan Anderson in your room, make him go downstairs. We have to go back to Ohio. I walked in the living room of the hotel, yelled, "John, your friends are gonna leave you here." He jumped up, grabbed his boxers, and literally ran out the front door without a word. He got married 6 days later, douche. Next story. We went on the Thursday before the Saturday wedding, as this was allegedly the best night at local strip club that was notorious around town. We considered it a kind of gag trip. This one girl who was really trying hard on stage tosses her panties at the groom-to-be and hits him square in the face. Fast forward to Friday, and the groom has pink eye. He's freaking out. He's drunk. He demands that our buddy punch him in the eye, thinking that a black eye could conceal the true sin and offer a more wedding-friendly excuse. He took the hit like a champ. The bride was furious, but the wedding went on. Next story, bachelorette party near Columbus, Ohio. Typical redneck Ohioans. Girl does a copious amount of shots and then goes shooting. Ends up shooting her neighbor's cat because she was so hammered. Girl gets arrested. Wedding is postponed due to illness. Last I heard, they were still married happily. Guy was a very down-to-earth dude. Girl was a bottle of hellfire. Next story. Best mate stag night. Let's call him Tom. 35 guys in a hockey club bar. Jugs of Tom Collins and martinis doing the rounds as chasers for significant beer. One guy, just about smaller than anybody else. Let's call him Gary. Decides it would be a good idea to throw the groom, Tom, in the river. We all agree it would be far funnier to throw Gary into the river. Gary finally managed to get out of the river, but is A, very wet, and B, covered in thick, sticky mud, grass, pondweed, etc. He walks back in to cheers and applause. About 20 minutes later, Gary's girlfriend arrives to pick him up. She walks into a cry of, "The strippers arrived!" She looks left, and there is a large screen showing a rather extreme video. She looks right, and there is a baying crowd of 34 very drunk guys. She looks in front of her, and there is her Gary, covered in crap and even more drunk. She storms off and gets in her car and locks the doors. Gary staggers outside, dripping mud over the path, and starts pleading with her to let him in the car and take him home. After 5 minutes or so, she lowers her window. The talk continues, and, whilst 34 of us crowd around the windows to watch, Eventually, she smiles and she unlocks the car, and he gets in. Through her window, messy. Next story, work weekends in my neighbor's pub. This is rural Ireland, but we get stags and hen nights from the nearest city quite a bit. Once had a stag do where someone managed to catch a deer and attempt to bring it into the pub. Deer was a young stag, rammed one guy against the wall, breaking 2 of his ribs before bolting back into the night. Another stag do saw a guy pass out while playing pool, but in the process of face-planting the pool table, managed to hit the black ball with the cue and pot it to win the game. Next story, we had a small circle of 5 couples who were friends. I saw the Bachelorette go into our upstairs bathroom and do BJ, one of our friends. She came out smiling, with fresh lipstick. He stayed in there for 20 minutes. Thing was, there were only 10 people at the combined B/B party. We all knew. Really, really bad decision on their part. Dang. First, we all knew what happened, groom included, and the vibe after was exactly as if someone had shat in the middle of the dinner table while we were eating. We were stunned and speechless. There were looks all around, but again, we went on full ignore. The party broke up shortly thereafter. The BJ guy stayed in the bathroom a while with the fan on, maybe acting like he was on the toilet. I think we kept mum that night because we could not process the strangeness that had just happened. Second, the B/B party broke up shortly thereafter. Again, we were stunned. 3 or 4 of us went to the wedding, not my girlfriend and I, and they discussed it somewhat. My girlfriend and I ended up laughing at the bizarreness and agreed we should stay hands off. Third, the newlyweds moved about a month later, and we lost touch. I think they split sometime in 2005 or so. Fourth, my girlfriend and I split about 10 months later, IIRC. These people were her friends, which meant that I really did not discuss this in depth with anyone there. Fifth, at this point, it is just a story from my life. Next story, I will never understand this crap about going out and cheating on the person you're going to marry right before you marry them. Let's just separate into groups and get lap dances and had sex with other people and not tell each other about it. Let me get some STDs real quick before this commitment thing, honey. Next story. Not me, but a long-standing neighbor of my parents. His wife is American and from a state bordering Canada. He went to his brother-in-law's bachelor party, which ended up him getting blindu and passing out. The bachelor party then stripped him and chucked him onto a slow-moving cargo train, thinking he would be found, and then promptly kicked off a couple stops down. He ended up in Canada, naked, with no passport, on the day of his wedding. Next story. At the end of my dad's bachelor party, his friends thought it would be a good idea to strip him naked, put him in a shark cage, on a trailer, and drop him off at his mother-in-law's house. I obviously didn't witness this, but have heard the same story from too many of his friends for it to be total idiot. Next story. Groom, one of my closest friends since age 15, wanted his bachelor party in Key West. We all had destination bachelor parties. They were all awesome. First night at the strip club, everyone buys him all the lap dance he wants for like 3 hours, and then suggest we go check out another place with the remainder of the group. His dad was with us for the trip with one of his buddies and didn't really want to go to a titty bar with his son. No, we're staying here, and you guys are buying me lap dances, because that's what I want to do. More like a petulant child than anything. I'm paraphrasing here, but you get the idea. So okay, we'll keep doing that then. It's his bachelor party after all. We'll check out what this town has to offer tomorrow. No, we won't. Second night, we're all back at this same club doing the same thing. Only this time, the groom is literally complaining any minute he's not in the back room getting a private dance. Why the heck am I not getting a lap dance right now? Somebody buy me a goddamn lap dance. We were all getting tired of this. Fast forward to 2 a.m. to me yelling at him in the street for acting like an ungrateful prick. And go get your own damn lap dances at $20 per song for the rest of the night. We still sometimes refer to him as Bridezilla, Groomzilla, or Prima Donna to this day. Love that guy. Great trip. Next story. 20 years ago, I saw a cousin of the groom-to-be lick both ends of a double-ended toy. This had just been evacuated from the inside of 2 of the nastiest high strippers I have ever seen. Everyone gagged as he licked the length of the dildo. The best part, though, was watching his uncle, who could be cast as the mid-50s mobster in any mob movie, grabbed this kid by the collar and hauled his ass out of the bar for a family meeting. He literally grabbed him by the collar and dragged him out kicking and screaming. The kid was not seen again that night. Second story. Not bad, but funnier than hell. Separate bachelor party. We met a buddy's college roommate at the strip club for the bachelor party. The bachelor was from a rural area about 60 miles away. We are waiting out front, and up pulls a frickin' church bus with the male half of the wedding party, around 20 guys. The groom's father was a minister, real nice guy, and he borrowed the church bus to drive everyone up for the bachelor party. We had a great time, but the best part is that we collectively paid every stripper in the house to put Dad on the hot seat all night. They would walk past and tuck panties in his pockets, give him kisses, unbutton his shirt, i.e. all kinds of stuff. Impromptu dance-offs between girls wherever he was at. I am not sure if he caught on or not. He was pretty innocent, but he had one hell of a night. We all sat back, laughing at the minister with fogged-up glasses, pitching a tent all night. Them balls had to be bluer than a Smurf's at the end of that night, but was funnier than hell. The strippers all got paid well and had some fun of their own with it. Next story. Had a mass trip to Vegas where it was supposed to be a multi-day bachelor party. Bride-to-be figures she wants to do the same and goes on the same weekend, same flight. First night was great, as the bachelor and bachelorette parties were separate and had its own plans. But the bride lost it in her party, and from the next morning on, she didn't want to be away from her fiancé for a single moment, thus ruining the rest of both parties. Also, one of the guys the next day violated the bro code and told the women every detail of the bachelor's party. Next story. Bridesmaid brings an uninvited friend because she wants to spite another bridesmaid, and the bride cries at the end. There was drama in the bridal party because one of the bridesmaids, B1, was friends with a girl that another bridesmaid, B2, was enemies with. The bride, however, was unaware of all this drama, and on the day of the party, B1 brings the friend that B2 hates. This friend was uninvited because the party was only for close friends, and the bride didn't know her that well, but was trying to be a good sport about it and not make a scene at her own party. To start things off, the bride had made personalized gift for all of us, and she made a slideshow about all our memories. Obviously, the friend wasn't included, and she felt offended she didn't get a gift. She was on her phone most of the time, and barely looked up when the bride was thanking us for being there. B1 and B2 start making backhanded comments at each other, and B2 says how much she adores the gifts the bride made for the girls invited. This was starting to get weird. Think of your friend group and all the inside jokes you have. Now, think of having a complete stranger in the group and having to explain every single joke and memory we all shared. Not only was it awkward, but we all felt this tension between B1, B2, and the uninvited friend. Fast forward to us at a strip club. We all decide to take a group photo, and the bride obviously doesn't want this stranger to show up in her photos because she didn't even know her, and this was supposed to be between friends, and asks the friend to take a picture. B1 says, "Okay, now let's take one with my friend and have B2 take the picture." Cue the awkward laughter as the bride was clearly uncomfortable and was trying to keep the peace. Me and another bridesmaid chime in and ask one of the bouncers to take a picture. Now after that, there was even more tension, as we were all reminiscing about our teen years and whatnot, and B1 and B2 get into an argument about who was closest to the bride. The bride just sits there quietly and tries to calm them down, and they both want her to pick a side. She gets up, garbs me by the arm, and leaves the room. She starts crying about how this night might have been the worst one of her life, and she just wanted all of us to have a good time like we used to. I have never felt so bad for someone. She had her day ruined because two people in the party had to make the day about themselves. It may not mean much to some readers, but imagine if your party was ruined because two of your friends go out of their way to make each other miserable. When we came back inside, there was an all-out brawl between all of them, which resulted in all of us getting kicked out the club. The bride is fuming, and we all take a tense walk back to the hotel we were going to stay at. Me and the other bridesmaid try to comfort her, and she is just appalled. To make matters worse, the friend was still there, and we had to ask her to leave. She and B1 made a fuss about her wanting to stay the night, and B1 had promised her she could sleep in her bed. The bride goes off on her and tells her she is in no place to make plans on a party that wasn't even hers to begin with, and that B1 and her friend could leave. B1 leaves with her friend and shows up late, like after the entire ceremony, to the wedding. On the day of the ceremony, she didn't answer any calls, and the bride had to ask if the groomsman that was paired with her would be okay if her just showed up in the photos and not the ceremony because he would be walking alone. He was nice enough to understand the situation and agreed. After the ceremony, everything was fine, and when we arrived to the hall to have the wedding party, she shows up not even wearing the dress that the bridesmaids were assigned. Cue the bride's parents telling her to piss off and demanding her to pay for the dress they had customized for her. They paid for everything in the wedding and wanted us to not have to worry about it. She argued and made a scene and was promptly kicked out by the family. The atmosphere cleared up after a while, and the bride, luckily, had a great time. Next story. I used to MC bachelor parties. I would bring the girls, collect money, be security, etc. It's not exactly specific, but I was shocked at how many men would try to do HJ. I worked for an agency, and it was strippers only. I would show up on Friday/Saturday night and be assigned to the girls. As far as everyone was concerned, the girls were hiring me for the night, and they were my boss. I was there as a presence, and to make sure everyone had a good time, pump the crowd for money. Next story. We were at a bar and had the back room reserved to us. Stripper comes in and dances for the groom-to-be. Then a few of us step outside to have a cigarette on their unfinished back porch, and one of the guys fell off and into an oil drum filled with kitchen waste/grease, up to his waist in grease. Next story. Okay, here we go. I've been lucky to know a bunch of lunatics most of my life. Or maybe I've just cultivated good relationships. Either way, bachelor parties have a way of getting out of hand. The first incident came about because I was invited out last minute. Some old high school buddies had rented a limo up from our hometown to the city I was living in, and one of them called me on their way to tell me our friend was getting married, and his bachelor party was happening now. I go and meet them at the bar, and after a few drinks, we're off to the strip club. I told them I'd meet them there, but they insisted I hop in the limo. We go to the club, and it's exactly what you'd expect, but not outrageous. I bought a case of beer for the guys to get us a private table, and we took turns shelling out for table dances while we were there. Last call rolls around, and we all pour ourselves back into the limo to leave, but they have to drop me off first. I guess the night had taken a financial toll on the best man, and on the way back, he insisted I pay him $200 for the limo ride. Since I was a last-minute addition and had planned on transporting myself, I let him know he could get lost. I turned to my left to talk to one of my pals, and the best man supermans across the limo to punch me in the face, elbowing another buddy as he does it. Next thing you know, the limo has erupted into an all-out brawl. People are swinging for the fences, hitting anyone they can connect with. The limo driver, who must be used to this kind of thing, just keeps driving while this is going down. During the chaos, I feel the limo come to a stop at a red light, and I just happen to be against one of the doors. So I open it and dive out while I have the chance. I ended up walking 6 blocks back to my car, and still haven't seen or spoken to the best man 10 years later. 7 years later, one of the guys from the same circle of friends is getting married, but we're older and wiser now, so I'm sure things will be different. The out-of-towners get hotel rooms in the city, and we start the evening off with a nice dinner. During dinner, one of the groomsmen attempts to pick up a group of 8 senior women, and this is about when I realize things are not going to be noticeably different this time. I pick up the dinner bill for the entire group, because I'm a nice guy, and I'm also hoping the best man from the first story hears about how generous I was. After dinner, we hit the casino for a couple hours, and before we leave, I convince most of the group to stop off at an empty roulette wheel and put all their chips on black with me. Black hits, and I am officially a hero. We stop off at their hotel to kill some time and freshen up before we hit the clubs. Between the drinks and the money in their pockets, these guys are rowdy. They're knocking back shots and roughhousing. Someone fills the tub with ice and beers. Security stops by to wish us all a great night. Just kidding, they said keep it down. As soon as they leave, someone starts smoke, and I start planning my escape. 5 minutes later, security is back. They smell the pot and try to shove their way into the room, with a groomsman blocking them. He literally gets choke-slammed into a closet, while the lead security guy tells one of his guys to call the police. While they pile into the room, I slip out of the bathroom and head down to the hotel bar. The last thing I hear is, "Go ahead and call them. I've got you on tape assaulting a guest." After I have a couple drinks at the bar, commiserating with the bartender about my friends, I see them all coming off the elevator exuberant. Turns out one of the guys struck a deal with security. They paid the guards off and agreed to delete the video and rent an extra room to spread the guys out a bit. I tell the bartender to give me my tab so I can keep that crowd out of his bar and take them somewhere else. He says, "Those are your friends? No charge? Good luck tonight." We go to the strip club and have a great night. Everyone still has full pockets that they're trying to empty as quickly as possible. And when the groom eventually passes out in our booth, One of the dancers hands us Sharpies. Being a gentleman, I let the girls have the honor. We close down the club, wake up the freshly decorated groom, and start escorting him back to the hotel. This is about the time he starts drunkenly tell about pretty much everything, which is not uncommon for this guy when he's had too many. He wants to go to another bar and can't understand that they're closed. The best man angrily tries to get him back in line and headed in the right direction. When that doesn't work, he takes a different approach and knocks him out cold in the street. Did I mention this was 2 days before the wedding? When the groom came home the next day, still drunk with one eye swollen completely shut, she called the wedding off. She eventually changed her mind, but not before all the out-of-town guests left. Oh yeah, we lost the out-of-town groomsman for a 12-hour stretch in there somewhere, but he eventually turned up, says he had a great night. So, when my bachelor party rolled around, people were abuzz. Everyone knew something insane was going to happen. I told my best man I wanted it early enough before the wedding to heal up from anything that might happen. I get a call one day to pack a bag for the weekend. One of my groomsmen will pick me up on Friday morning, and I've been cleared from work for 3 days. We hit the road and head to Raleigh. The first night is the warm-up. Barcade, BBQs, and some light bar hopping. One of my groomsmen didn't get the memo and drank a fifth of rum between dinner and going out. We all get a string of incoherent and increasingly panicked calls from him while we're at the first bar, so one of the guys goes to find him. When he's located, he's at the front desk of a different hotel yelling at the staff because his key won't work. He gets put to bed and spends the entire rest of the weekend hungover in his hotel room. The next day we hit a brewery and end up doing some high-stakes betting on Hot Wheels races. After a nice dinner, we go to a strip club that looked like an office had been quickly converted into a club, complete with a drop tile ceiling. Their big attraction is a hot tub room that you couldn't pay me to get into. I told them I wasn't dressed for it, and they said they had swim shorts I could use. Gross. Instead, I hang out by the stage and work up quite a thirst, stimulating the local economy. So I head to the bar for a beer, and notice a guy laying on the floor in front of the bar. He still has his beer in his hand, so I help him up and make a lame joke about staying off the floor because it's dirty and he might catch something. He thanks me and leans against the bar to watch the stage. I remember seeing the guy earlier in the night. He was blowing fat rails off the paper towel dispenser in the men's room. Shortly after this dawns on me, I watch his head tilt back. His eyes roll into his skull and his body go limp. I spin around to the bar, spot the manager, and let her know there's an unresponsive guy on the floor. She grabs security, and they try to wake him up and kick him out. I let them know he's on substances, and they call the paramedics. Seems like time to wrap the night up, so I gather the crew and we call an Uber. My groomsmen are convinced I killed that guy with my mind.